International action must be taken, not only by the LGBT movement, but from all the movements that defend human rights, because a murder has been committed in Portugal against someone accumulating different social exclusions and in a very extreme situation of weakness.
So the authorities, of course, they have to recognize, but nobody gives nothing without pressure. So the community has to pressure the authorities.
And Portuguese authorities must feel pressured from the outside to act preventively.
The community has to be organized to fight for their rights, and of course the authorities they have to recognize that everybody has the right to social security, to health insurance, to health care, and they have to do something.
In a small time, I hope, in all the European community, but especially here in Portugal, you have more protection to transgender people.
Gisberta, a homeless Brazilian transsexual immigrant, HIV positive, a drug user and a sex worker, was found dead on the 22nd of February inside a pit 10 meters deep in an unfinished building in Porto, the second biggest Portuguese city. The crime was confessed to by a group of 14 boys between the ages of 12 and 16 years old, most of whom came from a so-called child protection institution belonging to the Catholic Church, although financed by the state. From this confession, details of the dreadful act have become known. The victim had a deeply fragile health condition, and these boys frequently harassed, insulted, and chased her. On the 19th of February, a group of these boys entered the abandoned building where Gisberta was staying, tied her up, gagged and assaulted her with extreme violence, kicking her and beating her up with sticks and stones. The group also confessed to having introduced sticks to Gisberta's anus, whose body presented great injuries, and then to have abandoned her at the scene. Her body also presented cigarette burning marks. On the 20th and 21st, they have returned to the scene and repeated the aggressions. By dawn from the 21st to 22nd of February, they finally threw her into the pit, attempting to hide the crime. The autopsy did clarify that she was still alive, since her body was not floating but submerged in the bottom of the pit. This indicates that she died drowned.
You are my sister, and I love you. May all of your dreams come true. You are my sister, and I too. We felt so differently then, so similar over the years. The way we loved, the way we experienced pain. So many memories, there's nothing left to gain from remembering faces and worlds no one else will ever know.
Qual é a melhor homenagem, e esta pergunta vou fazê-la depois também outra vez à Armanda, qual é a melhor e eventualmente a única homenagem digna que nós poderemos fazer às Gisbertas que têm sido assassinadas neste país e por toda a Europa ao longo destes últimos anos?
É assim, cada pessoa tem a sua maneira de pensar. De certeza que a minha maneira não é a mesma que a tua, nem que das outras amigas, colegas. Eu acho que a melhor homenagem que há a fazer, neste caso à Gilberta, acho que é recordá-la no melhor que ela teve. Recordá-la nos momentos em que a gente se ria dos bons jantares, dos bons convívios e que havíamos felizes. A Gilberta, quando veio para Portugal, ela teve o seu trabalho, teve os seus documentos, podia estar em Portugal o tempo que quisesse. A vida tem destas rasteiras e ela não soube ultrapassá-las. É de lamentar que isto aconteça neste país onde tudo é pequeno e nós vivemos não muito bem, mas vivemos razoavelmente, e é pena que casos destes continuem a acontecer.
Eu quero insistir na última pergunta e quero fazer a pergunta à Armanda também. Que homenagem é que nós podemos fazer às Gisbertas que foram assassinadas pela Europa nos últimos anos?
Que fizessem no meio da imprensa um alerta para as pessoas saberem que foi a Gisberta, foi a Paulette, foi a Telma, foi a outra Paulette, foi a Tete, foi a Marisa e muitas outras, outras que desapareceram sem apoio, sem associações, sem ajuda general, sem apoio domiciliário, sem preocupação nenhuma, partiram, ninguém lembra delas. Lembro eu e outras pessoas que trabalharam e conviveram com elas. Por isso que se lembrem, as pessoas que organizam galas e que trabalham nas instituições, que se lembrem pelo menos uma vez no ano, que deixem para a história saber que aquelas pessoas foram assassinadas, foram apedrejadas, foram maltratadas e até hoje ninguém não foi apurado a responsabilidade. Ninguém é responsável.
Quanto a mim, a única homenagem que eu posso fazer a todas as Gisbertas que morreram e que têm vindo a ser assassinadas pelo mundo fora, pela Europa fora e em Portugal, é continuar a lutar, porque só assim é que nós poderemos mostrar que de facto temos direito a existir e temos direito a ser quem somos. Obrigado.
Liebe Schwestern und Brüder, begrüße Sie alle an diesem Abend, wo wir uns aus traurigem Anlass in dieser Kirche zusammengefunden haben. Wir sind hier zusammengekommen, weil wir denken wollen und beten wollen für Gisberta. Ein bisschen Protest wird bei vielen auch dabei sein, weil vieles im Umfeld dieser Ereignisse ist doch etwas, was uns Sorgen macht und eine berechtigte Wut aufruft.
Tu conhecias muito bem a Gisberta, ela viveu no mesmo prédio que tu durante vários anos. Quem era a Gisberta para ti?
A Gisberta sempre foi uma boa companheira. Eu já conhecia a Gisberta há 20 anos atrás, numa altura em que vivíamos as duas no mesmo prédio, éramos confidentes uma da outra. Eu acho que o descambar da Gisberta, para mim, na minha opinião, começou quando morreu um dos cães que ela teve, que era muito apegada a ele. Aí começou os problemas da Gisberta.
This was the last address of Gisberta before she went homeless.
Com todos os problemas que ela tinha ultimamente de saúde, mas também problemas psíquicos, derivado ao seu modo de vida ultimamente.
O que é que faz com que as Gisbertas deem esta volta? Porque assim, achas que teve a ver com o trabalho, com o tipo de trabalho que ela tinha?
Eu acho que teve tudo a ver, não só com o trabalho. Esse não foi o grande entrave da vida dela. Os problemas começaram a surgir quando ela se modificou um bocado.
This is the door. It's impossible to get inside.
Gisberta era uma pessoa muito calma, muito correta, muito querida por todos, uma boa compincha, não era, entre aspas, o tipo de pessoa que nós estamos habituadas a ver, uma pessoa muito discreta, uma pessoa muito querida, muito educada. A vida que ela levava ultimamente, tudo me faz crer que ela tivesse desistido de tudo, visto que ela própria desistiu da vida. Para nada a fazia feliz ultimamente. Ela recorreu aos serviços da Abraço, onde foi integrada, onde fizemos o que pudemos para a pôr num sítio onde ela pudesse descansar, onde ela pudesse estar mais tranquila durante uns tempos, a ver se conseguia pôr as ideias em dia ou pôr-se ela própria em dia, porque ultimamente a Gisberta não era a Gisberta que eu conhecia há 20 anos atrás.
Tu conhecias bem a Gisberta, ela foi tua amiga durante vários anos. Conta-me quem era a Gisberta para ti.
A Gisberta era uma pessoa que eu conheci quando cheguei ao Porto. Eu tinha uns 15 anos e foi sempre uma boa pessoa, uma boa amiga, humilde, companheira, não era conflituosa, não conheço pessoas que dissessem mal dela.
Achas que ela era uma pessoa revoltada com a vida? Ou desiludida com a vida?
Talvez no final fosse desiludida com a vida, né? No final dos dias dela.
O que é que tu achas que levam as Gisbertas, e aqui não me refiro só exclusivamente à Gisberta que foi assassinada, mas refiro-me às outras Gisbertas, e estou a ver que tens ali o livro da Ruth Briden, por exemplo. O que é que leva as pessoas a desistirem de certa forma da vida? Porque antes, e apesar dela ter sido assassinada, a sensação é que ela já tinha desistido de viver.
O que é que eu acho que leva? Acho que é a sociedade que vivemos, o país que vivemos, a falta de emprego, a falta de compreensão das pessoas, o facto de sermos diferentes, apenas isso. Não é só uma Gisberta, é várias classes sociais, várias profissões, não tem que ser exatamente a Gisberta, é um caso como a Gisberta. Acontece, no caso da Gisberta aconteceu ser mais mediático, mas acontecem muitos outros casos que não são mediáticos, semelhantes ao dela e que não têm a opção de vida que ela teve.
Qual é a única forma, ou provavelmente a forma mais digna de nós podermos homenagear as Gisbertas que têm sido assassinadas, quer em Portugal, quer na Europa?
Qual é a forma mais digna de as homenagear? É não homenageá-las. É tratá-las que estão cá. É tomá-las como um facto. É é fazer um bocadinho aquilo que eu tentei fazer quando faleceu a Gisberta, e também agradeço a morte da Gisberta, porque a mim, enquanto ativista, me aproximou das outras, que eu tinha que saber o que é que estava a passar. É dar-lhes espaço.
A própria Abraço foi a primeira associação neste país a lidar com questões de investigação ligadas à temática transgénero. Nós estamos numa associação que luta sobretudo com questões ligadas ao VIH, eventuais discriminações pelo facto de ser afetado ou infectado direto ou indiretamente pelo vírus. Para vocês, o que é ser transgénero e provavelmente seropositivo, como era o caso da Gisberta?
Eu penso que é eu não queria usar esta expressão, mas penso que é uma cruz muito pesada. Penso que porque são duas problemáticas muito complicadas. Eu penso, e nós em Portugal temos essa perspectiva, e nós aqui também na Abraço a vivemos. Ser transexual em Portugal ainda é um facto de discriminação e de estigmatização, assim como é também ser seropositivo. Hoje em dia em Portugal sabemos perfeitamente que as pessoas vivenciam o HIV no silêncio, porque têm medo da exposição, porque têm medo de ser rotuladas e catalogadas como seropositivas. Juntando o HIV com as questões da transexualidade, eu penso que inflama de tal maneira os problemas, não é, que se calhar é muito difícil lidar com a situação, e nós temos essa perspectiva. Conhecemos muitas pessoas e algumas pessoas são nossas voluntárias e nós trabalhamos com elas diretamente. Não é fácil viver uma situação dessas. Penso que para nós não há qualquer distinção entre ser ou não ser. Gisberta era uma pessoa que nós gostávamos, para quem tínhamos muito afeto, além de porque já a conhecemos há muitos anos. Mas temos outros casos de pessoas que também que vivem situações idênticas à Gisberta, e o tratamento é igual, não há um tratamento diferenciado pelo facto da pessoa ser transexual.
Ora bem, vocês lidaram com o caso da Gisberta de muito perto, aliás eu fui testemunha disso, e queria saber quais foram os procedimentos que foram utilizados na altura em que ela recorreu à instituição.
A Gisberta, quando chegou a Abraço, já a conhecíamos há muitos anos. Era uma pessoa conhecida da Abraço, que pontualmente nos visitava e estava connosco pontualmente. Quando ela chegou a Abraço, vinha uma Gisberta completamente diferente, muito debilitada, muito sozinha, com imensos problemas relacionados com a própria vida dela, ou com o rumo que a vida dela tomou, numa situação de sem-abrigo, com problemas com drogas, muito debilitada fisicamente e psicologicamente. Na altura, quando ela chegou, foi feita uma avaliação, porque ela trazia muitas problemáticas, vivia muitas problemáticas naquela altura.
Porque realmente quando a Gisberta nos chegou, ela vinha num estado de debilitação física e mesmo psicológica, e que tinha que haver uma intervenção imediata, nem sequer poderíamos estar a pensar em muitas hipóteses de resposta, porque a principal seria a saúde dela. Pronto, e a primeira hipótese foi realmente o internamento hospitalar. Ela esteve internada durante aproximadamente 3 semanas, não estou em erro. Recuperou, mas no hospital esteve internada no Hospital Joaquim Urbano, porque não estava, no momento, pela debilitação física, porque era uma pessoa que não se estava a alimentar em condições, era uma pessoa que estava sem tratamento, e também para a avaliação, para ver se realmente tinha outros problemas associados. Esteve internada aproximadamente 3 meses, 3 semanas, e em conjunto com ela decidimos que o melhor seria afastar-se da rua, não é? Do Porto, que era onde ela estava a viver, e que só assim é que ela poderia recuperar fisicamente, porque era essa a nossa maior preocupação, e concordou connosco ir para uma comunidade terapêutica, para onde foi, em Setúbal, onde ficou aproximadamente também 3 semanas, mas que não resultou, isto porque também nós não podemos ter a mudança das pessoas de um dia para o outro. Vai aos bocados, se calhar ela fugiu e voltou cá, não é? Mas isto vai de avanços e recuos. Se calhar passado uns tempos, se ela estivesse ainda viva, se calhar passado 1 mês ou 2, teria voltado e nós teríamos feito uma intervenção diferente. Infelizmente não aconteceu isso e nós tivemos a intervenção até o momento que pudemos.
Em termos legislativos, que proteção é que existe em Portugal, uma forma mais generalista para pessoas seropositivas e não especificamente para transgêneros?
É assim, em termos gerais, a legislação enquadra-se na dos direitos humanos. Tem ainda a isenção em termos de saúde, por ser HIV, mas não em relação aos medicamentos. São dados gratuitamente para o tratamento do HIV, mas para doenças associadas ou tratamentos que necessitem não lhes é atribuída essa isenção, que é algo que é uma falha muito grande, penso eu, na nossa legislação.
Vamos ter mais Gisbertas?
Provavelmente, sem dúvida nenhuma. Aliás, já tivemos, que tens conhecimento, já tivemos muito mais. E eu, desde que eu cheguei a Porto com 15 anos, e eu ponho-me a contar e às vezes a ver álbuns de fotos, grande maioria das minhas amigas tiveram todas um fim semelhante. Não tão mediático e tão tenebroso como o dela, mas acabaram todas na sarjeta. Todas.
Então este não é um caso isolado?
Não é um caso isolado, nem é um caso que não vai acabar por aqui, porque as coisas, ninguém fez mais nada por isso, não vejo ninguém aí com preocupações com o que é que se passa na noite, eu não vejo nada disso.
We made several interviews yesterday where more than one person, a trans person, said that this is not a isolated case. There have been other murders in Portugal already. Only the difference is they haven't been so mediatic like this one. What's your impression about how the way the press deal with all this case?
Okay,
for example,
that's a very important question because we realized how ignorant media are. We all realized, yeah. I heard about the case exactly through the TV on the 1 p.m. news. So I was sitting on my sofa watching the news, and it was the first thing they spoke about, and they mentioned that it was the murderer of a transvestite. Okay, so 10 minutes after I heard the news, we wrote the press release based on that information. That's the information we got. And it was a very important thing for the organizations as well, because we realized how naive we are to take it for granted and not question what we were hearing. We took it for granted that it was a transvestite, and that generated several errors afterwards. But I think it was an important step for the media to give it such a big importance, because as you said, there had been other cases in the past, but they were not on the TV, they were not on the news. So for the first time people realized it was a reality, and it was given much importance and much credit as well, exactly because it was reported. Yeah.
I get to know about this crime from the television and from the newspapers, because I didn't know Gisberta personally. I've never heard to talk about her before the crime. So it was a shock for me when I know that in the televisions or in the media they talked about a homeless person, they talked about a travestite, and things like that. They never show a picture of her. It was something that I didn't understood at first. Then I start reading and trying to know what's happening in that case. And then I discovered that Gisberta was a transsexual woman, that it was a brutal crime, and that is a case of transphobia, of course. So it was revolting for me, because I am a transsexual woman too. I was always, since I knew myself as a transsexual woman, connected to this world. So it was awful that in a so-called peaceful country something like this happens.
We heard of Gisberta's death through the press. In fact, of Gisberto's death, because the press presented her as a transvestite, which is the term that the police usually uses to speak of trans people who are working in prostitution on the street. and the media took the term for themselves and used the masculine name of Gisberta. We have reacted first on the basis of that information, trying to know more, but immediately sending out a denounce, including to the other LGB associations on what had just happened. And in the days that followed, we came to know some details on the person, namely through Ed, because she was already known to the association, and we were able also to correct our own approach on Gisberta. We understood immediately that it was extremely important to educate the media in order that confusions would be clarified between what's a transvestite and what's a transsexual person, and that we should pressure so that the feminine name she used was also assumed by the press. Some of this struggle was frustrating, but some of it passed. Some big media changed their approach. The shock that the media tried to motivate on people around this crime was totally concentrated on the age of the aggressors and not on the fact that a person had been killed. We know as much about the motivations for this murder as these commentators did, and that is, we don't know much. We know that a person accumulating several exclusions, so in a position of very strong social weakness, was took as a target for violence and died.
So it was some kind of I don't know, censorship around this to show that teenagers can do a terrible crime like this, you know, and as they are connected to the Catholic Church. It was very important to not talk too much about it, and it was just a homeless, it was just a drug addicted, it was not a woman, a transsexual woman.
And one thing that we tried to explain to the journalists since the beginning was that situations of extreme social exclusion, precisely of accumulation of different social exclusions, are too frequent when it comes to transsexual people. And our reward, if we can call it that, was that some very few journalists got the message, and some of the best works I've ever seen on Portuguese press on transgender people came finally out.
About those kids, I think that the education that you have in that kind of institutions is no education. They don't have education. They go to the streets, they are drug addicts, lots of them. They don't have any kind of emotional support. They live by themselves, you know. They are going there to sleep, to eat, and then they are going to the streets and doing what they want to do, you know. The persons that are above that institutions that belong to the Catholic Church, they don't give a damn about it, you know.
First of all, we know they come from the minor protection system, and as in many other countries, the Portuguese minor protection system does not protect minors. On the contrary, we have had situations of aggression, of systematic sexual abuse inside the institutions and through the institutions. We have a very serious degree of violence against children and young people. And on the other hand, we do not have a real protection system. What we have is a bunch of warehouses for poor and unprotected children and young people, there's no real accompaniment of this use. That half that is delivered to the Catholic Church is subjected to the educational trend of the Catholic Church, and that is that all sexual deviance, including transgender people, are to condemn.
E já que estamos a falar de educação sexual, então falemos também de educação de identidade de género.
Que a educação sexual passa por aí.
Não forçosamente, não tem que estar ligadas uma à outra.
Da maneira que eu a vejo, passa por aí. A educação sexual para mim é falar das doenças sexualmente transmissíveis, das diferentes orientações, dos diferentes géneros, das diferentes práticas de sexualidade.
Visto dessa forma, concordo.
Porque para mim a educação sexual é isso, não é falar do coito vaginal, abrir as pernas e o homem vai para lá, truca-truca e vai-se embora. É falar de toda a orientação sexual, é falar de todos, é falar de todos os géneros sexuais. É
só para descontrair,
é falar de todas as orientações, de todos os géneros.
Não chupa.
E falar de sexo oral, e falar de sexo anal, e falar de sexo vaginal, e falar de sadomaso, e falar de montes de coisas. Isso para mim é educação sexual.
Para mim, quando eu falo de identidade de género, falo mais num conceito social normativo que, quanto a mim, deve ser quebrado. E isso vai muito para além da questão da orientação sexual e da sexualidade das pessoas. É uma questão profunda ao ponto de nós passarmos a questionar o que é esta construção social e esta construção cultural do ser-se homem e ser-se mulher.
Sem dúvida.
Desculpa,
mas está certo, é isso, mas é isso.
And if we didn't know that already, which would be strange, we could check what has been the reaction of the Catholic Church after the murder. And it's a reaction of washing hands, and even of trying to put over Gisberta's shoulders false accusations of harassment to these boys, as if even a situation of harassment that never existed could justify a murder. It's not only about the warehouses I told you about, it's about mixing young people who are in the minor protection system for their protection regarding their families, children that are taken from their families to be protected from violence and from negligence, who are mixed with other young people who are sent to these institutions by the courts because they have penal accusations on them, and this is a barrel of powder. This is of gunpowder. You have a system with no real investment, in which these young people are really abandoned. We know from the experience of the Pink Panthers that this system is totally unfair, that it provokes violence, that it uneducates young people, that it is extremely homophobic, because we had cases of homophobia we had to deal with inside some of these institutions. And we also know that you have a judicial system dealing with minor people who is not prepared for such. The state will not assume a real responsibility on the system. Lots of crocodile tears have been mourned after this crime, but no will of change exists. The minor protection system needs a profound reform. This is all a big farce. It's all a big farce. There is no minor protection system, it's a big lie, and it's the first problem that must be dealt with.
Que responsabilidade é que nós assumimos neste processo?
Realmente a nossa responsabilidade como cidadãos falha em tudo, porque continua-se a viver sob o preconceito, sob a discriminação e a achar que foi mais um infeliz que morreu e não há diferença nenhuma e cada um segue a sua vida.
Eu penso que é alguma apatia que a sociedade começa a vivenciar, algum individualismo também, não é? Tipo, é um assunto dos outros. Há uma instituição X que toma conta daquelas crianças e eu estou descansada e relaxada em minha casa porque alguém há de tratar daquelas crianças, não é?
I think Gisberta's case was also very important because it generated not only solidarity among the Portuguese society, but also in terms of international awareness of what is happening in the country. Because there were.
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you really think that it creates this solidarity among this Portuguese society? Because personally, I don't have this impression.
Okay, what I realized is that people who are not connected to activism whatsoever, they were very shocked because it's the old thing. It's a human being. Okay, she was a transsexual woman. Okay, she was homeless, but it's a human being. So people got angry at that. If this generates active and systematic solidarity afterwards, that's another issue because people have a short memory, and then things get mixed up. There are other issues. Suddenly it's not on the agenda anymore. So that's a problem. But I would stress, I would underline that despite what you were saying, I felt like it was very beautiful to see that other organizations who are not necessarily connected to LGBTE as such were also there in solidarity. And even people watching the demonstration go by, they were applauding when they saw Gisberta's name. So this also must mean something, and I felt like it was a good sign.
Cá no Porto, especificamente, achas que houve por parte da sociedade em geral, houve alguma reação negativa ou positiva em relação aos transgêneros?
Com tudo o que aconteceu, que foi muito mediático nos jornais, na imprensa e tudo, das pessoas que eu conheço, das pessoas que a conheciam ao longo de muitos anos, não vi praticamente ninguém na vigília, inclusive a pessoa que me levou à vigília, que era um taxista que eu conhecia muito bem, nem tinha conhecimento do assunto. As pessoas que a conheciam ficaram todas à parte, todas à margem, que é assim, muito bom, quando a gente estamos muito bonitas, num cabaré, tudo muito animado, tudo muito bom, numa festa, não sei o quê. Quando a gente tem um problemazinho ou um problema grave, acabam nossas amizades.
Mas tu não achas que isso é um sintoma de que a sociedade está aliada completamente dos problemas em geral?
Com certeza.
I think the society has to organize, the community has to be organized to fight for their rights. And of course the authorities, they have to recognize that everybody has the right to social security, to health insurance, to health care, and they have to do something because of course this kind of situation produces more discrimination. And it's a never-ending story because someone who is on the streets, who is a sex worker, has no protection at all. Of course, it's going to be more at risk for violence, for every kind of risks. So the authorities, of course, they have to recognize, but nobody gives nothing without pressure. So the community has to pressure the.
Precisávamos de um país mais envolvido, com associações, um deputado que defendesse as minorias, que realmente fizesse com que a sociedade fosse mais tolerante e desse-nos abertura de trabalho, de estarmos integrados na sociedade com outras pessoas quaisquer.
First of all, in national terms, in comparison to other hate crimes that occurred in Portugal, there's a big deficit of reaction over this crime, for all the characteristics that Gisberta accumulated, I think. The LGBT community specifically, I think there was shock, but it failed to organize as such. I think unfortunately, most of the LGBT associations reacted to this murder as they would react to any other banal and daily discrimination.
Qual é a ideia com que tu ficaste das associações gays e lésbicas e da forma como elas lidaram com o assunto?
Fiquei sem nenhum tipo de observação, porque não vieram ter connosco, colegas da Gisberta, não vieram se manifestar apoio à ajuda quando ela precisou, pelo que eu entendi, que eu não estava por dentro do caso, mas o que eu entendi foi que as pessoas gostam muito de aparecer na altura fazer uma vigília e na altura fazer uma manifestação, porque no dia a dia, na prática, sou muito sincera, não vejo ajudar ninguém. Mesmo no caso da Gi, acho que houve alguém a tentar recuperá-la. Só que não é só tentar, é realmente estarem no terreno todos os dias. Não é vir uma vez por semana, uma vez por mês, está tudo bem. Claro que não está tudo bem, está tudo mal.
A maioria das associações, algumas delas de quem eu conheço algum trabalho, sempre foi em prol dos gays, homossexuais masculinos, e nunca dos gays em geral e muito menos dos trans, embora se intitulem como associações LGBT.
It is very important for us to remember that this was also our responsibility. Gisberta was already in a very bad situation even before we heard about her. And at least I'm speaking for me, I haven't heard about Gisberta until she was dead. So this is my responsibility, basically. And how many more Gisbertas are there that need help and need to be talked about, and we don't even bother to do it. So it's our responsibility, and we have to get much more strength and much more energy in order to change the situation. We have a long way to go, and this is a process that will take some time. And it starts, of course, inside the LGBT movement. We have to be aware that there are some issues that we don't have the necessary knowledge.
We don't have. We have to ask sometimes.
Of course, we have to learn from one another. Maybe a good thing is that on the March of the Revolution, celebrating democracy 2 days ago in Lisbon, for the first time, trans issues were represented, wasn't it? At least the theme, the subject was represented there. I think we must look at the small victories step by step. Although, of course, this is very unfair because we would expect people to be mobilized for this in a much, much wider way.
I must tell you that it was easier to work with anti-AIDS organizations or immigrant organizations, for example, than with other gay and lesbian organizations in most cases, because there was, from our point of view, a misconception on what terms to use and where to concentrate it. A crime like this was an urgent appeal for us to work with the transgenders, to go to Porto, to meet the companions of Gisberta who are still on the street subjected to violence. So we could not refer to this crime as a case of homophobia, as other associations did. I think it demands explanation, wide explanation of what transphobia is, that most of the gay and lesbian organizations really inform themselves about the concept of gender discrimination and start to see the difference between homophobia and transphobia. And I will also make mistakes. For me, the difference is a very pragmatical one. Using the concept of homophobia will not get us to work with the transgender community. Trying to understand what gender discrimination is will. And that will make the difference, because it is still, and it will continue to be if things stay like this, the most disadvantaged community inside the LGBT group. And it is discriminated inside the community itself, not only in the associative level, but on the daily level. And this cannot go on. No internal discriminations can be accepted from a movement that is fighting for general human rights in society.
Every community needs a boundary. Otherwise, we cannot define ourselves. But I would like to see us become a community that had borders without border wars. Let us reject the disgraceful behavior involved in excommunicating or casting out someone who makes us uncomfortable. We're the bit of strange matter in the flesh of the oyster, and if we want to be allowed to stay there long enough to be turned into pearls, we must practice the acceptance we have been denied. All of us know what it feels like to be a stranger or to be an outcast.
At the moment, the gays and lesbian movements have discussions with the politic parties inside the Portuguese Parliament to include the sexual orientation inside the hate crimes as a reason to be criminalized. Have you any knowledge about the discussion based, for example, on gender identity?
The penal code is being revised, is on a process of revision. One of the changes is exactly that one. The crimes based on sexual orientation will be criminalized. This is a very long struggle for the LGBT movement, as you know. So I don't know if gender identity will be there. What I've been told is that the politicians, the members of the parliament, did not accept that because they believe that gender identity is already there when you hear the word sex. They feel like it was going to be a repetition. That's why they decided to put forward only sexual orientation. But that was not, again, the intention of the LGBT organizations who negotiated the process.
Well, the government has announced yesterday a change in the penal code. It approved an aggravation of the crimes, of the violent crimes, motivated by homophobia. I think it's a shame that after a crime like this, there's not even a thought on the issue of gender. I think we lost a big opportunity to really protect all of the minorities who are threatened by hate crimes. Now we have an aggravation of violent crimes against homophobia. This is clearly one of our demands, but it's clearly also not enough. Gisberta would not be included in this law, and she would not be protected under this law.
A parte da não discriminação com base na orientação sexual já está discutida e definida no artigo 13. Nunca foi discutida o trans, porque os trans nunca foram assunto, certo? Porque o T está lá, quanto a mim, para fazer figura, porque daquilo que eu sinto, a maioria das pessoas nem sequer têm à vontade, disponibilidade ou se disponibilizam para falar com os trans. Eu acredito mesmo que essas ditas associações que tiveram esse tal aproveitamento mediático, se calhar nunca tiveram uma conversa de fundo com um trans, nunca tiveram sentado com ele, se calhar são incapazes de ir com ele ao café. Além de haver, quanto a mim, e isto meia culpa também, existe falta senso de comunidade GLBT. Não há comunidade GLBT em Portugal, nunca houve, e não vale a pena estarmos com tretas.
Of course, this is a case, there are no doubts about it, of transphobia. You have a case of a person that was Gisberta. She was a transsexual woman. This is a case of transphobia. People, of course, don't see it as a case of transphobia because there are lots of disinformation.
Because we are aware of the specific issue of transgenders, we are telling the politicians now that we are discussing with them the changings of the penal code, that sexual orientation doesn't include the gender identity. What we are suggesting them to criminalize is the aggressor and the motivations of the aggressor. In this particular case of Gisberta, the motivation was not exactly transphobia but homophobia, even if it was committed on a person that was not homo but trans. I mean, it has to be allied on the criminal and not on the victim. That's why we are proposing them this.
Most street-based homophobic violence is in fact transphobic. I've never heard of a case or seen case notes where the victim said, "Before he attacked me, he stopped me and asked me who I slept with." Transphobia is based entirely on how you present your gender.
there's a real need to consider how we record violent crimes.
I would like that Joe present you the main demands that we are asking on the European level, and that you give your personal opinion about that, or your institutional opinion.
The European Transgender Network was initiated 2005 with the first European Transgender Council, which took place at the Vienna Town Hall in Austria. It is the first Europe-wide fusion of transgender groups and activists to formulate an Europe-wide political consensus and to find common political goals. The members of the European Transgender Network come from all over Europe, thought in geographical terms, from Portugal to Russia and from Iceland to Turkey. They represent transsexuals, transvestites, genderqueer and all forms of gender migrants. 120 transgender activists representing 60 groups and organizations placed the cornerstone of a common political future. The groups brought in their major political demands and voted on which proposals might be most supported by all activists and organizations. Protection in hate crimes was the demand that gained the most consent among all participating groups. The network is a grassroots democratic fusion for formulating and representing a common policy, as well as for transnational solidarity.
We pointed out some main issues, and it's very overwhelming for me that every time the same thing comes. I want to have some right for my own. I want to have at least the right to choose my name, to choose parts of my standard, and not be that a name or my gender status, or maybe even how I should behave, is regulated by a state that cannot understand our inner feelings.
Okay, first is free choice of first names regardless of sex, gender, gender role.
Of course, I completely agree. I completely agree.
Second is full state recognition of the individual chosen gender or sex.
Yes, of course. You have my support.
And what would you ask the trans people to do to change to get the state recognition? What are the requirements to accept you in the new gender?
Well,
that's the question.
I believe that for doing that, one have to be sure that there is that we are facing a transgender matter. Sometimes there are some situations in which people at a certain point of that process turn away. I believe that we must have, and the state must have, it must be sure that that person, the identity, the sex identity of that, the gender identity of that person is another one, and not the one of one's birth.
Okay, but you don't think that operations should be required and so on?
Of course not. Okay. Of course not. It's not a matter of operations for me. The matter is the identity of that person.
Okay. Yes. Sterilization shall not be prerequisite for change of gender status?
Well, I'm not very well concerned with that. I didn't know that it was a requisite.
It is in many countries. It is.
Yes, I didn't know that. So of course I agree with that, but I didn't know that. I didn't know the.
No divorce for gender recognition. If you are married, you have to be divorced.
If you are married, you have to
Divorce because then it's homo.
Yes, of course. Well, that is another problem. Yes, of course, I completely agree with that, because you can go on, you can love that the person you are married with, and it's not. It has nothing to do with your gender identity. Gender identity is something else, not matter. I believe this is based on that matter that if you are married, if you are a man and a woman, and if you are no longer a man and a woman, you cannot be married.
Yes.
Of course, I agree with your proposal.
Thank you.
I and João Bernardo and other people tried to collect information about the transgender community in Portugal, because it was a completely hidden community and nobody knew exactly who they were, where they were, what they did, what kind of work they had, what was their legal situation, what was their health situation. So we did these questionnaires, and we realized that the health security, the health coverage of this community was very poor. Most of them were working on the streets, so they were sex workers, and in a lot of risk for sexual transmitted diseases, and also in a risk regarding the use of drugs and the use of alcohol. So it was a group of people that was in a very dangerous situation regarding health care. The problem is that because they are transgenders or travestis or whatever, the access to health care, to have access to this kind of health system, and because people are, they have a masculine name, the majority of the transgenders that we interview were male to female. The fact that they have a male name and a female body is a very strange situation for the Portuguese society.
You see that in Portugal, the majority of transsexual women live from sexual work because they don't get another job except transsexual work. Because you go to a interview, to a job, and you appear as a woman, but your documents, because you can't change your name to a feminine name, except if you have made already the SRS. So you go to a job, and that happened to me. You go to a job interview, and I appeared. They call the name that is my baptism name, and it is a name from a man. And they look at me and they say, "Oh no, sorry, we are not interested."
The healthcare systems are not used to this situation, so does not accept this kind of person. So the access is not good for this kind of people. When someone that has a female body presents to an emergency room or a simple consultation, and in fact the doctor or the nurse or the administrative person discovers that in fact the name is a he name and not a she name, the mess begins. So because of that, people don't want to go to the national health system because they do not want to be discriminated inside the health system. So the access is very poor.
Em termos legislativos, o que é que tu achas que seria necessário para que fossem contemplados os direitos das trans na legislação portuguesa?
Começar a ter o ser humano como um ser humano, ponto. Indiferente se seres trans, homossexual, hetero, mulher, preta, deficiente. Quando tiveres uma lei que não faça distinção do que é que tu és e te considera um ser humano, ponto. Quando tu passas a ser um assunto de direitos humanos e não um assunto de trans, e não um assunto de hetero, e não um assunto de gay, és um ser humano e pronto, e como tal tens direito a tudo o que os outros têm, então aí deixamos de ter discussão.
I think that it was very important that all the people, the authorities, of course, to see us as persons. The government doesn't approve lots of things that must be approved, as in the Constitution you have the gender identity protected that you don't have. You have the sexual orientation now, but you don't have the gender identity, and that is too much important, I think, to get a little change in another things, you know.
We know that hundreds of people and associations from abroad have written the media and the Portuguese authorities. We had no response whatsoever. I must say we are used to that in what regards the state institutions. There are really no institutional relations between the ministries, for example, or the state institutes and the LGBT movement. It's one of the problems that the movement has had in Portugal up to now. There's a wall instead of an opening for institutional relation, because the theme is not politically correct in Portugal yet. And if the gay and lesbian issue is not, you can imagine that transgender issue will be worse. Because not even inside the so-called LGBT associations, the transgender issue is discussed, taken as a priority equal to others, or approached in a correct way.
Portugal, associado aos outros países da Europa, também tem de começar a legislar, a escrever sobre isto, porque isto é uma matéria sobre a qual é necessário escrever, não é? Não é só o diálogo e o convívio entre os transgêneros que deve ser, as pessoas devem ser chamadas, porque o próprio Estado, a própria comunidade política não chama quem de direito para legislar sobre estas questões, porque não, os transgêneros não são chamados também a pronunciar sobre estas questões, não é? Pronto, é isso que nos falta, se calhar.
I still believe that in a small time, I hope, here in Portugal, especially in Portugal, in all the European community, but especially here in Portugal, you have more protection to transgender people and to transsexual women especially, because it is very complicated to be a transsexual woman. I think in every place, but here in Portugal it is very, very difficult to live and to make a living, to have your own house, to live with a decent, if I can say that, job. I think the gender identity is very important to know what it is and to protect it. I think that especially in Portugal, there are lots of things that the European community can do that they haven't done. And I think that the European community can make a pressure to these things to change, and can make a pressure to transgender people can get better works, or can work not only or especially in sex work, but in all the kinds of works. I think that the conclusion is we must be seen as people, as all other people. We are people, we have feelings, we have our lives, we are so special in our difference as other people are.
The essential saying, indifferently if we are acting from the inside or the outside, is to pressure the Portuguese state for legal action, for legal change, to include gender in the penal code, to reform deeply the minor protection system, and to start having active politics of education against prejudice. I think that's what's lacking the most. The state never gets involved. In fact, the state is the first promoter of inequality in what concerns these issues today. And you can check Portuguese laws, they still discriminate in a lot of points. I think that's what needs to change, and Portuguese authorities must feel pressured from the outside to act preventively. We do not want to discuss repression after crimes have been committed. We want to discuss prevention and education first. That's the first mission that the state should assume and is not assuming. It's not only regarding transgender people or gay and lesbian issues. It's regarding sexual rights in general. We have no sexual education in Portuguese schools. And I rest my case. This is 2006. We have no system of sexual education in Portuguese schools. But we are one of the countries with more teenage pregnancies in Europe, with the highest rate of HIV infection. Something is really not working in this country around sexual rights.
I want to encourage all of us to soften our hearts and allow our minds to remain open. Communities are not made out of cloned individuals who spout identical ideologies. Let us learn to find a way to deal with our conflicts that does not mirror the rigidity and authoritarian attitudes of traditional and conservative religions. We can all take a little more pain, I think, and continue to work side by side with people who see things differently, or people who want to go about the process of social change in their own way. There's so many things wrong with the countries that we all live in that I think there's room for everyone on the battlefront. We need new ideas, new strategies, new goals, and new identities. It is absolutely vital for this organization to flourish. I cannot think of any single factor which has a greater chance of saving the lives of more trans people. And the work we do is a life and death matter. If that doesn't bring us into the realm of the spirit, I don't know what can.
International action must be taken not only by the LGBT movement, but from all the movements that defend human rights, because a murder has been committed in Portugal against someone accumulating different social exclusions and in a very extreme situation of weakness, and there is no serious reaction in Portugal. It must be taken international because international pressure works on what regards the Portuguese state. And I would advise, because errors have been committed in Portugal, that the transphobia issue is not excluded from these protests. we are convinced that we cannot use homophobia as an umbrella to a case in which gender issues are involved.